Harry Styles is one of the most famous performers in the world right now. While he first rose to fame as a member of the boy band One Direction, he's become even more of a household name since beginning his solo career. He's constantly breaking records, selling out stadiums, and it's hard to go anywhere without one of his songs playing in the background eventually. One thing in particular that Harry has become known for is being a bit of a gay icon. Now, I'm sure not every gay person would agree with that title, but nevertheless, it's become a part of his brand. He tells people at every one of his concerts to feel free to be who they are while they're there. He waves pride flags at every show, and he frequently makes headlines for his gender nonconforming style, which ranges from wearing nail polish, wearing quote-unquote women's blouses, or straight up wearing dresses in photo shoots. However, Harry has also come under some criticism. While he encourages everyone to be themselves at his shows, he himself has yet to publicly label his own sexuality and has made it clear that he chooses to keep it that way. He's implied he is likely not straight in several comments, songs, and music videos, and yet he has still yet to firmly and directly say, "I am not straight." This has led to people accusing him of queerbaiting his audience by using queer aesthetics and queer themes, while never publicly identifying with the community. So is Harry Styles queerbaiting? Can real people queerbait with their own sexuality? And what conversation does this open up about the privacy that people living in the public eye are allowed? The gay community is no stranger to being exploited for money. The most straightforward example of this is rainbow capitalism. Simply put, this is when corporations use LGBT people and symbols for profit. There are many ways that they can do this, ranging from selling merch with pride flags on it, using gay couples or trans people in their ads, or just simply changing their Twitter icon to have a rainbow in it during Pride Month. The reason I say that this is the most straightforward example is because it's pretty much always easy to tell what the motivations of a corporation are. Businesses exist to make money. That is their purpose. They have PR teams constantly figuring out which moves might be the best way to get customers, get attention, and get their name into conversations. While every corporation has a wide range of individuals working within it, and some of whom genuinely care about LGBT rights, the corporation itself wants money. But that doesn't mean that nothing positive can come out of rainbow capitalism. For example, I do think that including gay couples or trans individuals in advertisements helps in the normalization of queer people. There are also many businesses who choose to give a significant amount of profits from their rainbow merchandise to LGBT charities and causes, which is also good. But for the most part, it's easy for gay people to identify the manipulation tactics businesses are using to pander to us for money. Things get slightly more complicated when we look at queerbaiting in movies and television. This is where the term queerbaiting originates. The idea that shows or movies will imply a character or relationship will be gay, but it's really just to lead us on and they never plan on going through with it. Some of the most well-known examples of this are in shows such as Supernatural and Sherlock. I think the definition of the term queerbaiting has gotten foggier and more confusing as of late. It kind of feels like people just call anything queerbaiting lately, whether it's because they just wanted two people to get together even though the writing never really implied it, or because the relationship is canonically unrequited, or because the writers are obviously building up a relationship to be a slow burn, yet these viewers can't tell and want immediate satisfaction, or the writers really just have no idea what they're gonna do. If you ask me, no one did ask me, but if you did, I think it's time to retire the word queerbaiting. It's overused, and no one knows what it means anymore, and even shows that do include representation end up getting bombarded with hate and accusations of queerbaiting because it doesn't happen fast enough, or it isn't the specific pairing certain fans want to get together. It's really getting exhausting, and honestly, I think it hurts gay representation more than it helps these days. Nevertheless, pieces of media do use some baiting tactics to gain viewers. I think it's more complicated than rainbow capitalism, however, because there are so many people who play a role in creating a show or movie with many different motivations. A producer might shut down the prospect of two characters getting together, but that doesn't mean that a writer isn't sneaking subtext in because they want them to get together. While a corporation's only true motivation is making money, shows and movies aren't that simple. Yes, they want your viewership to keep making money and for shows to stay on the air, but presumably, hopefully, the people on the creative side of things actually care about the story, the characters, and the relationships. So it's hard to prove from that side of things that they are only hinting at something as a manipulative baiting tactic when it could have many different reasons behind it. Finally, celebrities. Can they queerbait you? This is by far the most complicated thing here to figure out, because as I've been saying, It all comes down to motivation. Can you prove that someone is pandering to you just for money? When you're looking at a celebrity, this is not a corporation. It's not a television show or a movie with a production company trying to figure out what will work most for their targeted demographic. This is a person. Now, yes, celebrities are gift-wrapped by their PR team to fit into a certain public image so that they are likable to the people that they want to appeal to, so that their fans listen to their music or watch their movies or buy their products or watch their YouTube videos or like their tweets. So yes, there is a performance at play. But there's also a person under all of that. It's incredibly hard for us to separate what is a public image and what is a genuine person. And I think we can run into trouble when we try to definitively state what is what. There's something incredibly alluring about celebrities. The fact that they're so well known and revered and successful makes a lot of us desperate to be close to them in any way possible. If you were to randomly run into a celebrity tomorrow, even if it's one that you don't care all that much about, you'll probably get excited about it just because they're a celebrity. Like, I am far from a fan of Adam Sandler's, but I'll admit to you, when I randomly saw him standing next to the track on the Big Thunder Mountain Railroad at Disney World, I freaked out a little bit. My dad freaked out so much that he almost left his fanny pack on the ride. So yeah, I am not immune to the weird obsession we all have with the rich and famous. And with that obsession comes a desire to know these people. We often end up feeling like these celebrities are our friends, especially the ones that we're the biggest fans of. People put celebrities onto these unachievable pedestals, and everything eventually topples down when we realize that they aren't the people we've been convinced they are. We've seen this many times over the years. We valorize these people into inhuman gods, and are surprised when we learn that they're just humans. Some of them particularly vile humans. Others are just people who make mistakes. We as a society need to stop pretending like we know everything about these celebrities, and this includes their sexualities. Just because someone is famous doesn't suddenly mean that their journey with their sexuality is going to be easy. A celebrity might hint at liking the same gender in a joke. Immediately, people on Twitter are going to be talking about it. Did they just come out? What does a straight person think they're doing making a joke like that? My sexuality shouldn't be a joke to you. And then it snowballs from there. But we don't know what's going on with that celebrity. Sometimes it might be obvious that they're just being like, haha, that's gay, as a punchline. But when it's not so clear, maybe we shouldn't just jump on someone to identify themselves to the public or else. You never know what someone is really going through. Before I talk about Harry, I want to talk about one other example, Daniel Howell. Most of you are probably familiar with him. He's a YouTuber, most well known for being part of a duo with Phil Lester. You know, Dan and Phil. For many years, these two built a pretty large audience from their YouTube videos as well as their radio show on BBC Radio 1. People became incredibly invested in their relationship. There was a lot of speculation about whether or not the two of them were dating, and eventually they became one of the most well-known ships, including two real people, and their audience became rather invasive about their personal lives because of this. For a while, they both insisted they were straight and just friends, but eventually they started making more jokes about their sexualities, especially Dan, leading to some people accusing them of queerbaiting for views and attention. In 2019, Dan posted a 45-minute video titled Basically I'm Gay, where he officially came out. In the video, he described his journey with his sexuality. Dan experienced severe bullying and homophobia growing up, which led to depression, self-hatred, and a suicide attempt. Even as he got older, his discomfort with his sexuality remained, except then he also had to deal with speculation about it on a very large scale, which only made his depression worse. For someone like Dan, those jokes and comments that he made about his sexuality in the years leading up to him finally coming out were attempts to be more comfortable with himself and required a lot of bravery considering how much he was struggling in secret with his identity. Yet some people saw that, rolled their eyes, and assumed he was queerbaiting. Whenever Harry Styles has been asked about his sexuality, he has said that he doesn't want to publicly label himself. He said that he thinks his sexuality should be his, so therefore he doesn't want to discuss the details of it. He has only publicly dated women, and currently his girlfriend is Olivia Wilde. Because of this, people say that he's actually straight and just using the LGBT community by seeming queer for attention and money. So is he queerbaiting? Well, let me just say that if he is queerbaiting, I think he's pretty bad at it. Because my understanding of the very muddled definition of queerbaiting is that it needs to be bait, but not outright queer. In Harry's song Medicine, which he never released on an album but regularly performs on stage, he flat out says in a lyric that he hooks up with men and women. Call me crazy, but I don't think that's queerbaiting. I think that's being queer. I wish that was the type of queerbaiting we got on Supernatural. This is why I find the situation with Harry particularly confusing. Harry has alluded to his sexuality, quite a bit in fact. There's medicine, but there are also comments he's made all the way back to when he was still in One Direction. There's the song Lights Up, which is about figuring out who you really are and letting the world see it. The music video for this song was him rubbing up against a bunch of sweaty men and women in what was supposed to look like an orgy. Pretty clear message he's getting across in my opinion. He also has his new music video for Late Night Talking, in which he is in multiple beds with both women and some men. He's also shown having a date with one of these men in that video. I think it's bizarre that Harry continues to do these things, and just because he has made the decision to not use a label, people brush off all of his actions to show who he is in other ways completely. They refuse to accept that Harry is anything other than straight until he comes out in the way that these people want him to. Now, I don't want to refer to Harry as bisexual, because he has made the choice to not use a label, and I want to respect that. However, it certainly seems, according to what he has said and implied, that he is on some level attracted to both men and women. So therefore, the way that people react to him and his sexuality reflects on their opinions of bisexual people in some way. The fact that Harry has only been known to date women will immediately discredit any other queerness he may possess in other people's eyes, because there's a lot of hatred towards bisexual people within the queer community. I feel very frustrated seeing people going out of their way to create this conspiracy that Harry is actually a mustache-twirling evil straight man lying and using the illusion of queerness to gain attention as a bisexual person myself, because that's like classic biphobia. Like, bi people are accused of lying about their identity for attention all the time, yet people don't think twice about how bi people or queer people without a label might feel about seeing these accusations constantly thrown at Harry, and how it might reflect back on the mindset that they have about those groups of people. Some people also get mad about him dressing in gender non-conforming ways because they say he's not the first person to do that, and many of the men who have paved the way for this are black men, and yet he gets more attention and credit for it. I mostly agree with that. He absolutely should not be treated like the first gender non-conforming celebrity. He should not get more praise than legends like Prince or Billy Porter or Lil Nas X. And it's true that he almost definitely gets more praise for it simply because he's white, and people are more than justified in being angry about that. However, Harry himself has never claimed to be a trailblazer. He's never compared himself to any of these other icons. He's always just said that he's wearing what he likes. The people who act like he shouldn't be dressing like that just because he isn't the first or only celebrity to do it should realize that it's really reductive to act like only one celebrity at a time can be gender non-conforming. In fact, Lil Nas X himself has asked people to stop comparing them because he likes Harry. Also, making jokes about how gender norms are winning every time Harry wears a dress or something really isn't helpful to anyone. You can say you don't think it's a cute outfit, but some of you are literally spewing the same shit that the right-wingers are about it. What really baffles me is seeing that the people accusing Harry of queerbaiting most are gay people. I think more than anyone, the LGBT community should understand the pressures of coming out and figuring out a label that works for you. We should be able to imagine how much more daunting that might be for someone with a massive audience, especially someone like Harry who has had his sexuality intensely speculated about since he was 16 years old. Saying that Harry has to tell the world what label he wants to use or else you are going to think of him as straight really isn't helpful. I don't care if you like Harry or not. This video is not meant to be a Harry stan defending him and crying because other people don't like him. If you don't like him, that's fine. If you don't find him attractive or don't like his music, that's fine. If you just find it frustrating and annoying that he's so overhyped, that's fine. If you think his quote recently, where he said that he likes that the gay sex scene he filmed was tender rather than just two guys going at it, was pretty stupid and eye-roll worthy, I won't disagree with you. I mean, I do think that people calling him homophobic for that is very dramatic and untrue, but he earned getting clowned on some for that one. But please, stop making assumptions about his sexuality because he hasn't come out in the way that you deem acceptable. None of us know Harry's reasons for choosing not to label himself. Harry doesn't owe you a coming out. Harry doesn't owe you his identity. Neither does any other celebrity or public figure. Just because they're a celebrity doesn't mean that you are entitled to everything about them. Some people might say that we are owed this information because we provide these celebrities with our support and money, so we deserve to know if they're a good person or not, and therefore they need to tell us everything if anything sounds like it might be slightly out of place, etc., etc. But really, we don't need to know everything all the time. If you feel offended by someone, take a step back and stop supporting them until you feel comfortable with them again. I don't think we need to demand an explanation for every comment or lyric or artistic choice, especially if it's about something like their own sexuality. The lines between the art and the artist are blurred more than ever these days. Can you enjoy something without knowing the artist's identity stands on everything an entire background story? People used to do that all the time, but now an artist's personality seems inseparable from their content. Sure, sometimes knowing aspects of the creator's life can enhance a story. Knowing a writer is a certain identity makes their story about a character's experience of being that same identity resonate more. But also, maybe we shouldn't demand everyone reveal their identities in order to create art. I feel like that's an insult to what art is. People can express themselves without having to spell it out for you. Ultimately, I think this leads me to a conversation about all of our privacy. We live in a time where we feel like we need to post every opinion online so that people can know where we stand on absolutely everything. We list our identities in our bios so that everyone can know immediately if you've spoken on something that isn't your place. And if you refuse to be upfront about your identities, then you're seen as suspect and probably doing something wrong. Now, I get where this comes from. Like, if someone talks regularly about racial issues online and they have an audience because of it, but they refuse to say that they're white, then yeah, that's not great. But just in a general sense, I think we could all benefit from allowing other people to decide what they want to share about themselves. Whether that be in their art, in their everyday conversations, or their online or public personas, people deserve some form of privacy in their lives. If you want to be public and proud about any of your identities, then I think that's awesome. But we all have our own complex situations and inner lives, and we need to be more willing to be understanding and allow people to decide when and what they're comfortable sharing about themselves. There are some of you, I'm sure, watching this and still thinking, Harry is straight. But you know, the point of me making this isn't to convince everyone that Harry Styles likes guys. I mean, if you don't take his word for it, you're certainly not going to take mine. The point is that even if by some slim chance he is straight and purposefully misleading all of us for money, it still shouldn't be the internet's job to play at being sexuality sleuths creating elaborate conspiracies to try and prove this. Celebrities are entitled to keeping some things to themselves, and we need to learn to be okay with that. Harry Styles is not queerbaiting you. No real person can queerbait you with their own sexuality. Maybe there are people out there who are using sexuality as a way to build a fan base, but I don't think that we as the audience are the right people to pick and choose who is doing that. Because we don't know these people. We don't know their story, and to accuse them of that only places more pressure on these people who might be struggling more than we could possibly be aware of. We don't get to decide if they are queerbaiting us because their queerness does not exist for our consumption the way that the queerness of a fictional character does. That is their identity, not ours. Thank you so much for watching. I am currently very busy with school and therefore not able to upload videos on a regular schedule, but still, if you enjoyed this, feel free to subscribe for the next time that I find the motivation to put off my schoolwork to make another one of these. If this is how you found me, feel free to check out my other videos while you wait. There's only 3 of them though, so you might have to watch them a couple times to fill that wait. Alright, until next time, bye!